Hey guys, Kakarot197 again. This time with a review of the high-grade Cosmic Era Windam, with the Jet Striker pack from the Gundam Seed Destiny anime series. And at first glance, we have yet another amazing Grunt mobile suit Gunpla. The seam lines are mostly non-existent and the proportions are done extremely well. Despite the relatively bulky shoulders and legs, it still has the typical sleekness that you would expect from the Windam. And things get even better with its color separation. You just need a little bit of gray on these pistons, this part of the feet, and the Todesrecken Seawiz guns on the chest and on the head. Some green for the insides of the thrusters and the tip of the main thruster, and then all you need is a metallic sticker for the back camera, the main camera, and the visor. And this last one is probably going to be a love it or hate it thing. Typically, we'd get a clear plastic piece for this, but since the Windam's very shiny visor is so prominently featured in the anime, I can totally see why they went with a metallic sticker instead. Also, we didn't get any marking stickers with this thing. So starting off with the weapons that are already on the mobile suit, we have the M2, M5 Todesrecken 12.5mm automatic Seawiz guns on the head and on the chest. Then on the side skirts, we get the ES-04B beam sabers, and I gotta say, as far as beam sabers go, these are both extremely long and pretty plain looking too. And to go with them, we of course also get two very nice, very long new style pink clear beam saber blades, and most importantly of all, they fit extremely well into the hands. And then the final mounted accessory that we should have gotten is the Mark 315 Stiletto rocket-propelled anti-armor penetrator that is stored inside of the side skirts. And while I can understand that the side skirts can't open up because this is a high grade, it is unfortunate that they didn't just do the same thing they did with Revive Strike and just give us the knives. But moving on to the extra weapons, we of course get a beam rifle, the M9409L beam rifle. And this thing has extremely easy construction, two halves slapped together, and it has been a long time since I've seen a handle that should have been movable that is not movable. And unlike something like the F91 where it is like molded together but you can't separate it, this thing is not going to move at all. And while it does fit into the hands very well and allows us to make some really cool poses, it does give me a very 2004 vibe as opposed to a 2020 vibe. And this vibe essentially continues with the shield. It is a very nice looking shield, but this right here is a yellow sticker as opposed to a yellow piece, which is something I would expect from a 2004 Gundam Seed model kit and not a 2020 Gundam Seed model kit. And when we flip it around, it's basically the same thing. There is a handle here that is molded onto the shield, and these parts are going to have to be painted gray. Of course, that handle is going to have to be painted gray. The missiles inside of there are going to have to be painted. So if you want this thing to look the way that it should look, prepare to do a bit of work of your own. But it's not all negative with the shield. You can attach the brace onto two parts, so you can choose how high you want the shield to be. And this is actually a feature that I haven't seen on a high grade in quite a while. And I do also like the fact that the connection points are ball joint as opposed to the usual peg joint. It does make the shield a bit more dynamic during posing. And then the final accessory that we're getting is, of course, the Jet Striker, with included missiles on the bottom. Hooking it up is super easy. You simply turn around your Windam, slide it in there, and there you go. But if you want this thing to look completely as it should, prepare to bust out the paint and the masking tape. We get dark gray stickers for the big wings, small wings, and the rear of the main thruster, and an orange one for each of the wingtips. Then grab some red paint for the insides of the turbine, and grab some good skills to paint the fan blades. Then for the missiles that we get, you'll have to paint basically everything. Also, the missiles that you see on the Windam right now are the ones that we're getting. You can replace them because all of the pylons are basically the same, but it would have been cool if we got 4 of each, because in the anime you would often see Windams with 4 of the same ones. And I also think it would have been cool if we got the fuel tanks and the triple missiles. And talking about things that could have been a bit better on the Jet Striker, the articulation. The wings will go nicely up and down to go in its stored mode, but the problem is in the anime we also sometimes see them folding like this to go into stored mode, and then the wings being able to fold down, but we don't have a joint there, so again, would have been cool if that was included. So overall, while I do like the Jet Striker that comes with this model kit, I just can't help but feel that this was something that was designed in 2004, shelved, and now just dragged out of the closet to be released alongside a modern Windam. But let's forget about the Jet Striker for a second and have a look at the other Striker packs that are compatible with the Windam. Simply put, all of them. The modern Ale Striker looks absolutely amazing on the Windam, and I also wonder why we never saw a Windam using the Ale Striker when they were in space. Then we have the old Sword Striker. Of course, the shield and the shoulders are a no-go, but the backpack, no problem. And it's basically the same story with the old Launcher Striker. Then the Perfect Striker is a perfect fit on the Windam. Again, of course, if we disregard the shoulders and the shield. Here he is as the Noir Windam, and I think that would look really good if you painted the Windam in the Noir's colors. But a combination that looks fantastic straight out of the box is the Windam with the IWSP Striker Pack. This was of course the prototype for the Jet Striker and the Doppelhorn Striker Pack, and in combination with the Windam, it makes for a really cool Commander type Windam. And finally, here he is with the Gun Barrel Striker Pack. Perhaps something that would have been really cool for Neo Roanoke to use. And the opposite is of course also possible. The Jet Striker fits perfectly on any Striker Pack compatible mobile suits, as you can see with the 105 dagger here, which also used the Jet Striker in Gundam Seed Destiny. And if you want to see some other mobile suits using the Jet Striker, go on over to my recently revived Instagram. And now back to the Windam to have a look at the amazing articulation of this model kit. The head is on the usual double ball joint, goes really far upwards, down, rotates around all the way, and of course has the usual forwards and backwards movement. Then the arms are on a forwards hinge and on an extra ball joint for some really far forwards movement, nice backwards, up nicely, and then some extra upwards movement too, and they're absolutely not hindered by those pretty bulky shoulder armors. These thrusters on the shoulder will also move a little bit. Then it will also rotate around below the shoulder, bent at the elbow and only a single joint, but I feel like I've seen double joints with worse articulation than this. The hands then are on the usual ball joints, will wiggle around, turn around, do everything a ball joint does, but be careful because I feel like they are relatively loose in there from the get-go. Not too loose to the point that they drop the weapons, but just be careful nonetheless. Then we also get some ball joints inside of the chest. There is a ball joint here and then one at the bottom. So we do get some pretty nice forwards and backwards movement. It is a bit on the stiff side, but better too stiff than too loose. We'll then also get a little bit of side-to-side movement, and it'll also rotate around about that far. Then the front skirts are molded together, but as always can be separated. The legs go forwards really nicely, backwards a little bit less because we get a pretty big back skirt, outwards about that far, or if you move the side skirts out of the way, we go up all the way like that. Then they'll rotate around all the way. We get an extra hinge at the bottom, and you can also see that we get a hole there for an action base. Then the knees are on a very nice double joint. Doesn't really get any better than that. And what is also really cool is that this thruster is actually on its own peg. And I wasn't even really sure that this thing was supposed to move, so it was really cool to see that. And another really cool thing is, if you remove it, it actually just looks like a standard leg and something that you could easily modify into something else. And then finally, we get a movable ankle guard, and the feet are as always on the typical hinge and ball joint combo. So they go nicely forwards, backwards really far too, side to side a little bit, and will also rotate around. Also, I just want to highlight these very unique looking feet because this is a foot design that we don't often see on a mobile suit. And it is not just functional as a mobile suit, but also very functional as a model kit. Because believe me, these extra things at the back of the feet make him extremely stable, even with something like the Jet Striker attached to it. And I almost forgot about these thrusters on the back of the legs. So when we're only looking at the Windam, we get a really well-articulated model kit that can take on some really cool poses without any problems. So as always, the inevitable question is, do you want to buy this? And well, for 1,400 yen, we get a Windam that feels completely at home in 2020, with accessories and a striker pack that feel like they were made in 2004. But all in all, we finally have ourselves a solid Windam kit. And if you're like me and you've been wanting this thing for years, then I can highly recommend getting one or more of these kits, especially if you've got a fleet of striker pack compatible mobile suits. For everyone else, don't expect this kit to set your world on fire, although for the price it is quite impressive, as you will now see with the size comparisons. First up, we've got the Revive Ailstrike Gundam and the old high-grade 105 dagger. While the Windam itself isn't that much bigger, the Jet Striker definitely gives it a lot more presence. Next up are the Windam's worst enemies, the old high-grade Zaku Warrior and the Revive Force Impulse Gundam. In the anime, they didn't fare that well against the Impulse, but according to the manual, the Windam was supposed to be perfectly capable of going head-to-head with the Impulse, and had a performance that was equal to that of the Strike Gundam. Personally, I think I prefer the interpretation of the manual. And then, because I saw a few people joking about it in the comments of my unboxing, here it is next to the Wing Gundam. And then finally, here it is next to the standard size Gym Custom and the always bulky Zaku 3. And I gotta say, when you equip the Windam with the Jet Striker pack, it is a relatively impressive mobile suit and model kit. So that's all for this review of this model kit that has been long overdue. And as always, a big thank you to the Patreon supporters. I hope all of you watching have a great day, and I'll see you all next time.